Hi, I'm Marcelo Carrusca and you are watching Purebred Reds, Adelaide United Fan TV.
G'day guys and welcome to the Purebred Reds Adelaide United Fan TV. I'm your host Ellis Gelios and I'm here today with the latest Red Army recruit in an official role as the official Red Army media person, Chris Adams, or as I like to refer to him, Chris Laddams. How are you, Chris? How are you enjoying the lack of activity at the moment in this very draining off season?
I'm absolutely hating it, to be honest. Just I've had to go and watch other football, which I prefer my club football.
We're here today to basically put out some really exciting and creative off-season content that is probably, in both of our opinion, well overdue, would you say?
Yeah.
In regards to a general conversation happening about Adelaide United's greatest ever kits. We're going to be counting it down from 10 to 1. So after this season, we don't officially know who we're going to have, but this is the last Macron season. So when Macron do bring out the away and home kit for this season, we're going to be doing another video unveiling that strip. But for now, we're going to be throwbacking all the way back to pre-puberty Chris, to a very different time when we had Seacom as the NSL kit and Reebok as the first ever A-League kits, etc. But the rules, Chris, for today, there are none whatsoever. So this can literally be, I don't care, it doesn't have to be all home kits or anything like that. It can literally be 10 away kits. It can literally be a red bib that we wore during a pre-season game in 2005-06 somewhere in Adelaide. I don't care what it was, so long as we wore a kit for a match day on any given occasion. It can be absolutely anything, so FA Cup, Champions Leagues, all included, pre-season tours, whatever you like, mate. So, you ready?
Yep.
Let's dive into it, mate. So, what's your number 10?
Okay, my number 10 was starting off with my first ever Adelaide United jersey, and it's our 2012-13 Kappa away strip. Now,
that's actually 13.
12-13, yeah. Now, there's something about this that I really love the design of it. Our manager was John Cosmina, and we finished 4th in the A-League, got eliminated first round of the finals by Brisbane.
Mm-hmm.
But I just really liked, Kappa just is a new breath of fresh air, so to speak. And Unleashed Solar famously bailed out mid-season, and then we had Kappa actually as the front sponsor for a few games, then we had Solar Shop, and then that ended up not being something. I think they actually announced Solar Shop as a 3-year deal, and then they called it off, and we had Violi the next year. But it's one of my favourites. One of my first Adelaide United kit in general. I actually bought it on sale at Bay Levy Sport, I reckon.
Yeah. And
I wore it for 4 straight seasons without getting another kit. And so it's a bit more of a sentimental one for me.
For me, going all the way back to 2007-08, our A-League away kit, it was Reebok. It was Aurelia Vidmar's first season as the manager. And it was a disappointing season as well. We finished 6th that year, but it was a very neat sort of looking kit. Just safe, I think. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Had the classic Bianco at the back, which obviously just brings to mind all those many memories of the earliest days.
Yeah.
But I have some nice little memories. Paul Agostino scoring a few bangers in this. Some great crosses in from Casio. These are the sort of memories that come back to mind. So just a safe sort of number 10 from me. Anyway, Chris, keep the ball rolling. What's your number 9?
Number 9 is our 2016-17 home kit. And that would be our first ever Macron home kit as well. We finished 9th. It was the championship hangover, as I like to call it. And we had some really memorable games wearing it, though, I have to say. A famous 2-1 win against Melbourne City where Mark Otching scored a late winner is what always comes to mind for me. But they just had these sort of intricate little details that Kappa didn't do, and that's not saying anything bad about Kappa, but for example, we had the star above the badge, and then the badge had this sort of nice printing over it, and we obviously was the first year that the A-League tested the championship A-League badge,
which should have been there for a long time.
Should have been there for a very long time, yeah, and I thought it was a really sweet looking kit, and one thing I didn't enjoy about it, and this is just me being very picky, the collar hung open quite a lot, and so that prompted me to install buttons in the collar.
Yeah, actually,
in a little custom job. And
wow,
so,
this is next level Chris Adams.
And so the collar closes up very nicely now, and it's one of my favourites that I own.
My number 9 is going all the way back to our first year in the A-League, 2005-06. It was the Reebok very first sort of cut and paste Reebok kits, which was basically the same for every club.
Yeah.
You had a bit of a sort of white faint line going through it. Fairmont Homes were the sponsor, and basically I've just chosen that kit because Chris, first ever kit in our A-League history, our home kit in particular, we finished first. A lot of people say after this season, and I tend to agree, that we kind of choked after killing the home and away season.
Yeah.
Just couldn't get it done in the finals.
We had 2 opportunities to make the grand final.
Big ones. We ended up losing to the Mariners in a prelim here at Coopers. And that was after losing to Sydney over the semi-finals, which was the old A-League finals format, which we had over 2 legs. So disappointing finish, but a fantastic season because Mina was the manager, obviously. And yeah, it was a nice, neat-looking kit. Brings back all those iconic sort of banter players that we had from those that era. We had a lot of them. Let's face it. We actually wore that template for a couple of seasons. We did, yeah. And then it crossed over into 2006-07 as well. Yeah. Moving into your number 8.
My number 8 is the recent one, our 2018 FFA Cup home kit, and we won the FFA Cup for the second time in this.
Yeah.
Fantastic. It's a template design,
delicious,
actually.
Yeah.
I think it's got a real Western Sydney Wanderers feel to it.
It does.
But regardless, I think it's, as I mentioned, it is a template kit, so it wasn't custom designed for United. But my memories of Goodwin scoring 2 absolute bangers in the final is going to stay with me forever. It's a really great night, and I think it's just a really fantastic kit.
So my number 8 is the 2014-15 A-League away. Kappa design has gone Bauer's second season. Obviously we finished 3rd. It was a really strong season, but I just really rated the kit. I thought it was a nice black design, had the numbers of all the past players on the side, and I think it just worked really well. Very neat looking. We actually, when we put it out, I think 442 rated it as that and the home kit for that year being the best out of all the A-League clubs, and it was just a really good year. Unfortunately, it was Gone Bowers last year, but I
thought we played really wonderful football
that season.
Peak, yeah. It was the absolute pinnacle.
And we were so strong at home.
Very strong.
I don't remember us dropping points at home.
Yeah, really. Barely ever. We absolutely demolished Newcastle 7-0.
Was that the game where Izzy scored that absolute bomb?
His first ever goal, absolute curling screamer. And yeah, that was a really memorable season.
Yeah, I remember actually the first ever game of that season was away to Brisbane. I think we won 2-0.
Yeah, came back from 1 goal down.
1 goal down, so 2-1. Yeah, I remember watching that here, and I just had a good feeling after that very first game. And
we won the FFA Cup for the first time that season.
But yeah, we're wearing that black away from 2014-15, and that really set the tone for a strong, not only season, but a strong period of time in which everything Gone Bow had instilled, obviously translated into becoming champions for the first ever time. So an important kit for an important occasion. Chris, your number 7.
My number 7 is, in my opinion, one of our best ever home kits for the season, and it's our championship 2015-16 Kappa home kit.
I just want to quickly cut you off. Between both of us, we don't have many of the same kits in our top 10, but this one surely, I don't care if this looked like a tablecloth with barbecue sauce stains in it. It was, given the memories of that championship win, it was always going to be some kit that we put in our top 10, wasn't it?
Yeah, I definitely agree in this. The kit itself is quite simple. They didn't really go for anything out there, and I will always remember that kit for just the grand final and the semi-final and how memorable, how amazing that season was. I really like the yellow collar. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of people don't like collars on jerseys. I'm a massive fan of collars, and the way it's sort of blended, it's like almost the abs type look. It's sort of these stripes, and I think it's just a really nice looking, sweet, nice, simple home kit.
My number 7, Chris, is the 2018 FA Cup kit, the home one.
Get it up again.
Yeah. So just obviously, it was silverware that we won, another trophy in the cabinet, and how could you not list it in the top 10? It's nicer than the 2014 FA Cup winning kit. That was very much off the shelf. That was earlier Kappa days. They didn't even probably foresee the FA Cup as being something that they'd be able to sell heaps of kits in. So it was a very plain sort of looking kit compared to 4 years down the track. I had to put that 2018 FA Cup winning kit in the top 10. So that comes in at number 7 for me.
Yep. Now, my number 6 is a very special one. It is our first ever home kit, our 2003-4 NSL kit. There are actually 2 editions made of this. And this is the 2nd edition. So the players didn't actually wear this, but this was released, manufactured by Seacom here in South Australia. And obviously our manager was John Cosmina, and we had a decent season. It was a fantastic inaugural season for a new club.
Yep.
And I can't say it brings back memories because I was only 3 years old, but something that as a fan now I really look back on, and I
wonder what it would have been like.
Recognise that as such a fantastic time and period of this club.
Yep. I mean, it's often not sort of spoken about highly enough as to how challenging it was in a time where the competition was part-time. We'd literally just thrown players together, thrown a club together basically in the hope that it might get off the ground and unite everyone, for the lack of sort of cliche.
Yep.
Because there obviously were divisions in the SA football scene at that time. Post Adelaide City and West Adelaide both folding. So it had to happen, and it worked, thankfully, and that was the kit we wore. So
and here we are now.
Yeah, no, special times, no question. Now, my number 6 is, I think for a lot of the core sort of group of supporters that have got memories from the very earliest days. How could you ever forget our dream run in Asia during the 2008-09 season? Show it, please. Show it. Yeah. So you've actually got the Club World Cup sleeve here.
Yeah.
But so I've put it down as the 2008-09 Asian Champions League / FIFA Club World Cup kit. Remarkable season overall, but given that we weren't really prone to seeing our club compete overseas, the fact that we made the Asian Champions League final, you saw your first ever game, the quarter final, wasn't it?
Against Kashmir,
Kashmir Atlas. It was just an incredible season. We played Gamba obviously in the final of the Asian Champions League, lost 5-0 over 2 legs, but then we also played them again in the Club World Cup in that same season, spectacularly, and lost again, but in a much better circumstance. We were very close to equalising, and we actually, you might not remember this that well, but we went away for the Club World Cup and we missed I think 3 A-League games, or maybe even 4, and still kept our place on top of the table. It was just draw city going on, and we came back into the A-League thinking even though we were going to have catch-up games after the Club World Cup, that we'd have to make up some ground, but we actually were still top when we came back, and yet still somehow managed to not finish top after the regular home and away season that year. But nevertheless, just even though we were bridesmaids the whole way through, just an incredible season overall.
Yeah, definitely.
And so, very fitting to include the 2008-09 ACL / FIFA Club World Cup home kit for that year. Chris?
My number 5 is up here, our anniversary 10-year 2013 one-off kit. We discussed this off camera and we both believe that we actually should have worn it for the whole season.
Absolutely.
I personally like the design better. I think it's a really nice, improved take on the original NSL strip. It's absolutely fantastic. It took me a few years to get, and we drew 2-2 to Melbourne victory. We're actually 2 goals.
So we only won the one game, obviously.
Yeah, it was
round 2.
Round 2, yeah. It was a one-off game, and my Bill didn't score. Geronimo and Therio scored.
Correct. 2-0 up. Probably went 2-0 up too early.
Yeah, definitely. The atmosphere was just. The crowd was probably the most packed.
I remember getting up to get some drinks, and I couldn't get a seat.
No, I was in general with my my mum actually came to a game with me, which has never happened before.
Well, you were quite young, obviously.
Yeah,
this is going
13,
back six years.
Yeah, 13 years old, and there were people sitting in the aisles of the general stand.
I remember it. Yeah, I remember.
It was full.
Yeah.
You couldn't hear yourself think when United were going forward, and 2 goals. Unfortunate not to win the game because victory equalised really late on, but the kit is just fantastic, and I really think we missed an opportunity being able to wear it for the whole season.
Yeah, it was a bonkers kind of time. Gombao's second ever game. Everyone was already expecting that we were going to be like
playing like
a poor man's Barca, basically, which took a bit more time to come. But it was a strange time. Like Postecoglou was the victory manager on that day.
That was,
and it was his. I think it was his last ever game.
Yeah, before he went to the Socceroos.
Before becoming the Socceroos manager. So it was just a really, really weird kind of time, but nevertheless, sort of peak A-League era still. But when you look at that kit, Chris, like you look at it and you just think, why wasn't that our regular kit that season?
It's one of Kappa's best.
It's not like it wasn't even a predominant red or something like that where you had to excuse it. Like it literally just could pass easily as having been our home kit that year. And I reckon, we probably, if they'd made it our home kit that year, we would have sold a lot of them. Like they would have had to have sold a lot of units.
They sold out. They did a limited sale.
Yeah.
And the numbers were incredible. They actually had to do another round of sales and ship more in from Kappa from memory. I could be wrong, but I know that definitely it's one of the most sought out kits of recent times nowadays, and it's a stunning design. It just perfectly represents what the first kit was about, the States' 3 colours.
Yeah.
And it's just a fantastic redesign of our original kit.
Kappa's best work, sadly, that we only saw for one game.
Yeah.
But like you mentioned, in retrospect, a lot of people were after that kit. Myself in particular, I was chasing down your colleague, Mr. Jason Cavey, for a fair while.
Really?
He was auctioning it off, and I was hounding him to bring that to a home game so I could buy it off him. Should have been our home kit that entire year. But anyway, we look back on it with very fond memories. My number 5, sorry. So I've gone the 2018-19 A-League away kit. Just a beautiful kit.
Yeah.
This season just gone. Extremely just really nice on the eye, sharp looking. We're actually kind of 1 more games away than home this year.
Yeah, we did.
Feels like that anyway. I just often look back on us wearing that kit with a good feeling. And I think, some of Macron's best ever work, to be honest.
I agree,
To be honest, they made a 3rd kit in the 2016-17, which looked quite nice.
Yeah,
and then they backed that up again in 17-18 with a really nice away, but then they just topped it off last season. Like, I think they added a bit more red, and there was nothing amazing about it, but just like a real solid 8 out of 10 kind of, bit of work that they did. So, that was my number 5.
I agree with you there.
Yeah.
So my number 4 is our 2017 Asian Champions League home kit. Now we had obviously Osgold as our sponsor. I think it's really, really good looking. The ACL that season, obviously in the A-League we finished 9th, and if I can just hold this up properly, it's a really different sort of design. I really dig the gold badge. And the ACL, in my opinion, was the shining light of that season, given we were just not really getting it done in the league.
Yeah.
And took me a couple of years to get my hands on one here, and I actually did some custom work because mine didn't come with the sponsor, so I had that installed. And I think it's just a really, really good looking good-looking home kit.
You went all out.
I went all out, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, no questions. That was a very memorable kit indeed, Chris. And again, another one that we would like to have worn more often than we did. But nevertheless, part of our history. So my number 4, we don't need to touch on it again. It was the A-League 10 years kit. Fantastic looking kit, just an absolute banger.
Yeah.
Full stop, really.
Agree.
Would love to have seen more of it, but just didn't. Anyway, so that was my number 4.
My number 3 is Ellis already appeared on Ellis's list, but our 2008 Club World Cup / Asian Champions League kit.
Delicious.
I actually personally look at this as the best of Reebok's kits, which I'm not sure whether you agree with or not.
I do. Yeah.
This is actually Angelo Costanzo's match issue. I'm not sure if he wore it during a game, but it's definitely his match issue version. And for me, obviously in the Asian Champions League, it was my first time watching and the height of our history. Perhaps it didn't occur to me back then, but now looking back on it, I fully understand how much it meant. Obviously, it was United and basically unsailed waters for Australian A-League clubs.
Definitely.
on the international scale, and I didn't grasp it then, but I do definitely grasp it now how important it was in this club's history, not just for Adelaide United but for Australian clubs as a whole. And then we saw Western Sydney Wanderers win the Asian Champions League a few years ago and making the final, and then we won in the Club World Cup. We won the Fair Play Award.
Yep. Cristiano.
And won the Goal of the Season award as well. Yeah, so we finished 5th place all up, and the stars aligned that year because it was being hosted in Japan, and so Gamba Osaka would have gone in as the Asian Champions League winners, but because they were the highest ranking Japanese club, they went in, and then we slipped in as sort of the second in place. So
and some of the players that have really sort of played more games than anyone else for the club who played in that time often tell me that was the greatest ever experience they've had, because it was a tournament that FIFA paid for all expenses. So they got 5-star treatment. They got to stay in the absolute royal parts of Japan, business class flights. Like, apparently they were just really well looked after, and obviously when you consider that clubs in the A-League don't have the same budgets that the best of Asia has.
Would have been amazing.
It was just something they'd never seen before in their entire careers. So that one little sort of moment in time just is a real sort of overbearing memory, in a pleasant sense for so many of our greatest ever players. Number 3. So 2015-16 A-League home kit, the championship kit, obviously. Hang up right behind me. What memories? Just perfect, just perfection, really. A banger of a kit to go with it. I'll just never forget that sort of 9-game run that we had, where we were just like, I remember we went
14.
away to Wellington. Was it 14?
14 undefeated.
14 undefeated. We went away to Wellington, beat them 4-0. We beat Raw like 4-1 away, and like just that time, it was 21st season for me as well. So like, I just remember like life was a breeze. Like, it was summer, we were killing it. Like 21st every weekend, and like, what a time to be alive. Just what a time.
Fantastic. I look back at the 2015 as honestly one of the best years of my life, and at least the first sort of few months of 2016 as well. That football makes a real difference, and it was just fantastic. I actually look back at some of the home games that we played, where we played Wellington, beaten 3-0, Mariners 3-1. Goodwin scored a banger. I say that.
I remember.
Brisbane Roar, where we broke the duck against them. We hadn't beaten them at home in 5 years, and we killed them. We won 3-0, but in terms of our defence, midfield and attack, and just stopping them from playing well, we absolutely destroyed them.
And they were good in that time.
They were good. They were top of the table, and earlier in the season we did them 4-1 away. And when we beat them 3-0, that was when, to me, we did in 2 weeks in a row, we beat Victory away at Amy Park for the first time in 5 years, come out, and then the week after, we did the Brisbane game, and that's when I looked at this and I said, okay, this is not just a big undefeated streak now that's not going to amount to anything. We've just broken 2 ducks that in other seasons, Gombau's seasons, for example, we'd be playing against Brisbane or Melbourne Victory, and there would be games that was like, we need to win if we want to be finishing top or first, and we always draw. And Brisbane at home, we'd always lose. And then we go out and we beat these two teams, and I look at it and I say, okay, we're doing this, we're going the whole way here. This is when I actually thought, yeah, we could do this. It's looking like it now.
Yeah, no question. For me, the standout game that I'll never forget is the Melbourne City one, the prelim, because I just went into that thinking, you know, the formula, the way it's always been is that if we win this game, we're going to win the championship.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, you know, if there's a God, we're winning this game. But just given the way it's always been, I think I honestly went into that game shit scared that they were going to do us. I remember thinking this is going to be a flat 2-0 loss.
Look, we that game we went up 2-0.
Yeah.
2 goals from Bruce. His first goal was actually, prior to Goodwin scoring in the FA Cup final, his first goal was the best I'd ever witnessed at Ironmarsh. For importance and for technicality.
Yeah.
And we went 2-0 up, and then Fitzgerald scored for Melbourne City, and it was 2-1.
Yeah.
And I was shitting myself for a solid half an hour until
squeaky bum time.
Until Dylan McGowan. I was shaking.
Yeah. Corner.
Until Dylan McGowan scored.
Eases the nerves, and then
Pablo scored a great volley through Sorensen's. I don't know if it was through Sorensen's legs or went right beside him. And then that was just the biggest stress release.
Pandemonium.
I was just in Red Army. I was just there's actually, you can see me on one of the camera angles, all over my best mate next to me. I just jumped on him and hugging him, and it was just amazing. My number 2 is, you know, I love my cup kits and I love my one-offs, and
you freaking love an FA Cup kit.
You said that off camera. This one's not an FA Cup kit. This is our 2017 Asian Champions League away kit. And I actually got my hands on this only last week. This is amazing. We played one game in it. We beat Jeju United 3-1. Kim scored our goal of the season.
Yeah.
And Dylan McGowan also scored. This is his, I know it's at least his match issue. I'm fairly certain it's his match worn kit. And he scored that game as well. It was our only win during that campaign. But I think it's the best Adelaide United away kit I've ever seen. And it's worth the money I paid for it, and it's worth the search, and I undertook to find it, and I think it's just absolutely amazing.
Funnily enough, Western Sydney announced McGowan wearing that kit.
He was one of my favourite ever defenders for United, and I'm so upset.
I love the gold template though on the logo. Like, it's just interesting that
the logos. Yeah.
You've referred to the home and away kits in this Asian Champions League campaign. It's almost like that was the Asian Champions League campaign where we went on the dream run, but we didn't even make it out of the group stage. But
we finished third and only won one game, but
special memories for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so my number 2 is another throwback to a season where we were in Asian Champions League football, but I'm going to commemorate the actual kit, the home strip from that season.
Yeah.
It's very similar. That's the 2007-08 one up there. Very similar to that design, pretty much identical. They just changed the Reebok sign from having it as the Reebok logo to just Reebok written in white.
Oh, yeah.
And we had a different sleeve sponsor as well, and I think we had a bit more black striping going around it as well. But what a season. I remember from the very first game thinking, man, like, you know, having supported the club since it got off the ground, thinking, you know, this really is surely. We made some exciting signings. Ogrenovsky at centre back.
Solid.
It was Eugene Galekovic's first season being there from a pre-season.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, like, you know, this is an exciting squad. A few Brazilians in there. And I just thought, man, like, you know, this could be a season where we actually do something. And I actually remember, to credit myself, I remember having a sneaking suspicion that we were going to be a surprise package in Asia. And I remember saying to a few people, we had that first season, hopefully we learned from, you know, how to travel properly, how to take our own food, which we ended up going on to do. We took our own chef over to the bigger games in the Asian Champions League in this season. And I remember thinking, like, you know, I don't think we're going to do it on all fronts, and I don't care if we don't do that well in the A-League. I just want to see us go out and really surprise everyone in Asia and really sort of fly the flag for the country in the Asian Champions League. But surprisingly, with a really thin squad, we ended up competing on 3 different fronts and really, making this state extremely proud. Well, let's get into the honourable mentions. So the rule is 2 honourable mentions each before we decide each of our number 1 greatest Adelaide United kits of all time. So we'll start with you. Your 2 honourable mentions, Chris.
My 2 honourable mentions. My first one I'll say is our 2015 FFA Cup away kit.
Yep.
Manufactured by Kappa. We only played 1 game in it. It was black and it had very similar looking to
the home.
No, not the home one. Oh yeah, it was similar looking to the home one from that season, but to your 2014-15 away kit.
Oh yeah,
so it was very similar to that. Had the red stripe down the middle.
Yeah.
And we absolutely pummeled Darwin Olympics 6-1.
Darwin Olympic. There you go.
That was it. And my second honourable mention is the kit I'm wearing right now. It's just up here.
Yeah.
Our 2017 FFA Cup home kit. This kind man over here actually gave this one to me. And I have some great memories at Marden. Taylor Regan knocking out Mitch
Austin far out. What a memory that is.
Michael Maroney scoring against Newcastle 3-0 against Victory as well. And making the final that year. And I don't want to talk about the final.
No. Mine are the following. So I've got the 2009-10 away kit that we wore. It was the first ever time that we went from the generic A-League white aways to
Jim's Plumbing.
Now I'll tell the story quickly. So my dad got this as a Christmas present for me, and I just thought, man, I love it, but it's a bit plain. So when I got to get the great man Fabian Barbiero's name at the back, the guy in Soccer Central, I was like to him, I got it done at Soccer Central, as we did back in the day, and I said to the guy, how come there's no Jim's Plumbing on it? And as it emerged, we'd actually announced Jim's Plumbing after round 1, so we went into round 1 without a sponsor.
Yeah.
And he's like, we're just kind of under the impression if we put Jim's Plumbing on heaps of the kits, no one will buy it. I was like, nah, screw you, man. I feel shortchanged. So I actually got the guy in Soccer Central to put a Jim's Plumbing thing on the front, and I don't regret it because, you know what? I'm the kind of guy that thinks...
Show that to everybody watching.
I'm the kind of guy that honestly thinks, something looks better than nothing.
Yeah, I agree.
I really do believe that. And so that I got Jim's Plumbing put on there. And that was the first ever non-white away strip that we ever had. So that's one honourable mention. And the second one is one that not many people are going to really remember or maybe even know about. We didn't wear it for an official game. It was worn as the 2014 pre-season tour to Darwin. We actually had to do a pre-season tour there because of the Do the NT sponsor, which we wore at the back of our kits.
We also played in Alice Springs.
Yeah, that's correct. And I think it was a time where Jordan Elsey slipped on a rock or something and broke his arm.
Both of his wrists.
We actually wore an Indigenous style kit.
It's fantastic.
Which Kappa produced, and it's an absolute banger.
Yeah.
As I understand from what you've said, it never went to retail.
Yeah, they the club announced that they in the article where they said this is our Indigenous strip. They said we'll be releasing this. Kappa will be releasing it, so you can do pre-orders. Never happened.
Anyway, it's a shame because it was a beautiful looking kit. That rounds off our honourable mentions, and we go into our number 1s. So
here we go.
Fire away, my friend.
My all-time number 1 Adelaide United kit. My friends all know this because it took me 4 years to find one. And Ellis said off camera, and he said, you absolutely love an FFA Cup kit. And I said, yep, I'm obsessed. My number 1 all-time Adelaide United kit is our 2015 home FFA Cup kit. Had the winner's badge on it, which was the first time, I believe, it was the first time because we won it this season before. The first time there's ever been an FFA Cup winner's badge, and this is just the most incredible looking home strip.
It's the GOAT.
It's my goat, yeah, that's what I said. I said it's the goat. This is actually Osama Malik's match worn strip. And I went on a wild goose hunt to find this one. And I don't know what it is, just the PSG look, blue stripe down the middle. I think it's just absolutely fantastic. And it is just my favourite ever Adelaide United home kit.
It's a gorgeous looking design. Malik wore it, obviously. I can't say anything against it. Like, it's a very fair number one for you to pick. It's one of those kits where it's so good looking from the front, particularly where you wonder, like, could that have been a home kit? Maybe with a little bit less black in it. I think easily could have passed. Very memorable kit. My number one's going to be a bit more of a surprise, I feel, particularly because the season we had in it was kind of a rubbish, but it was a fantastic looking kit. It's the 2011-12 A-League home strip. It was the manufacturer was Araya. The manager was Rennie Corlin. We didn't do particularly well. We ended up finishing 9th. It was a pretty disastrous year, to be honest. Corlin got sacked halfway through because Mina came in. But I just loved the whole Stratco at the back. Cooper's iconic sponsor that we never got for long enough. No. And it's stupid what happened here with Cooper's, because when we got Cooper's as our home sponsor, the FA came in with a new rule, which was that any alcohol endorsement was forbidden, and so we had to get rid of Cooper's. And then the following year, I kid you not, Brisbane Roar had Hahn Superdry on their shorts.
I remember, unbelievable.
What was that crap about? And so, we lost an iconic sponsor. Okay, in the long run, they have the naming rights for our home ground.
Yeah, but Cooper's iconic SA company.
They should be like almost the Carlsberg equivalent from Liverpool. How Liverpool had Carlsberg for 15 years. Cooper's we only had for a couple of years. I think literally 2 years, and all because of FA's rule that they brought out, which was just so dumb, really messed us around.
At least they're still involved with sponsorship and stadium rights. There are worse companies to have sponsor the stadium rights. I have no problem with Cooper Stadium.
Absolutely. Fantastic kit in my eyes, though. We didn't perform particularly well in it, and we only had Araya for that one season. I don't know what went on there, but it was a weird kind of time. We switched around the place all constantly throughout that period. We went from having Araya for the A-League, and then we had Legia in the Champions League the following year.
Good story about that one. Another day, maybe.
For another day. But we love our Italian manufacturers, don't we?
Yeah, we do. We definitely really do.
Because we haven't had anyone other than Italian manufacturers since Reebok. So, go figure.
I didn't actually. That never occurred to me till you said it, but very true. Perhaps not after Macron, but we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens indeed. Do you agree with our top 10? I'm sure a lot of people have their own opinions. Make sure you share and comment with your opinion. What's your top 10 A-League kits of all time? Other than that, we've got some other exciting off-season content that we're going to be bringing out very soon, Chris.
Yep.
Great that you were announced as the new Red Army media person.
Thank you very much.
Very well earned. Surely some exciting times ahead.
Definitely.
A lot of new plans to look forward to from an active supporter perspective. But in the meantime, we're just playing the waiting game. We're going to wait until a few more things get announced before we put out another pre-season update. So Chris, thanks so much for being here today. Loved having you in.
Thank you very much. I'll just say my final bit. Red Army memberships, for those who are interested, will be opening in the next couple of weeks. We'll be organising an online form, and you can come and visit us at our home base at the Brompton at our first screening, which will be the August 7th for the FFA Cup away game against Melbourne Knights. Get around the Brompton Hotel, get around the Red Army, active support. It'll be an exciting year coming up.
Cheers guys, thanks so much for watching.
Thank you very much.